So, we're trying something new this week. Instead of filming a separate intro, I am just going to jump right into the video here and tell you what I'm doing. If you remember in the last shop tour, I was talking about those nasty plastic shelves that I've got and how I hated them because you couldn't move them around, couldn't get to the things behind, couldn't clean. They held dirt like crazy. So I picked up these metal shelves a while back and was using them in a different place and don't need them there anymore. So I'm going to put these metal shelves together and we're going to take the stuff off those plastic shelves. We're going to reorganize and we're going to put things on these metal shelves. Now, I'm not going to bore you with watching me put these together. So I'm going to cut this and we're going to hop into the finished product. Shelves are put together. Now it's time to load her up. You can see all that scrap wood that's stuffed there under the bench. I want to open that space up and put some drawers in there. So we got to get rid of all that. And it's been a pain trying to dig through it to get to anything. I don't know if the shelving will be any better, but it'll be up where I can at least see it. I don't know about you guys, but I have a real hard time throwing pieces of wood away. I keep pretty much everything, thinking I might need it down the road, and many times I do. So this is all the little scraps that I'm always reaching into. So we'll get them up where we can see them. So there's all the wood that was stuffed underneath the bench. Now I'm going for the wood that's on the shelves behind the belt sander and the spindle sander. Get all that stuff cleaned up. I think we're going to make some headway here today. Stick around. You're going to see some more cool stuff as we go through this video. It's not just putting these shelves together. Trust me. And now the process of getting everything off those plastic shelves. It's amazing. There was so much stuff stacked up there. I forgot I had half of it. You guys run into that same problem? Yeah. You just keep collecting and collecting and collecting, and it builds up. So anyway, found some really great wood, and looking forward to some projects using it here shortly. So stick around. Hit that subscribe button if you would. I'd appreciate it. Hit the like. Leave me a comment. And we'll get back to building some projects, doing some wood turning here in the next few weeks, I promise. But I just got to get this shop cleaned up. I'm sure you guys all struggle with it too. So after a few hours, here's the shelf in place where it's going to live for the time being. One other project I need to do, I want to hang a plastic curtain in front of the shelf behind the lathe so that I don't have to clean it all the time. I'm not going to do that on the video, but you'll see it in the final shop tour. Okay, on to the next project. Well, here it is, all cleaned out. And there's the bones of the cabinet that's going to go in there. And there we are with the cabinet frame installed, the box. Now it's on to drawer slides. Here's the cabinet finished. I didn't bore you with installing drawers. These drawers came from a dresser that I picked up along the side of the road. Well-built drawers. It was a mahogany dresser. I pulled it apart to repurpose the wood. So I threw these drawers in. I've got one more down at the end. You can just barely see it there on the right. And I painted everything with some beautiful blue paint that I picked up in the Oops section at Home Depot. $2 for a quart. Pretty good deal. There's the gray drawers that I showed you in the shop tour video. Bought that set for $15, and it slid in perfectly right there. So we're done with drawers. Now we're going to get into something really interesting. So stick around. So here's the router table. If you remember in the shop tour, it was pushed over to the right, and my welder was sitting here in this corner, and I kind of moved things because I couldn't get in to the black cabinet and the file cabinet. It was a pain in the butt, so I moved the welder over to the right, moved the router table to the left, but now I have this, and it doesn't work real well. These metal shelves are a real pain, in my opinion. So we're going to do something a little different. On one of the jobs that I did, I got these great glass doors, and they slide on a track. They're 48 inches wide, 36 inches tall. So let's build a cabinet to put up here and put glass doors on it. One of the biggest problems I have in the shop is dust. I don't have real good dust collection. I hope to fix that problem this year. So follow along. We're going to rip these shelves down, and we're going to build a cabinet with glass doors, sliding glass doors on the front, and put it up there. I'd like to get my router bits up there where I can see them. You know, drawers are great, but my router bits are overflowing my drawers, and they're in containers. And honestly, I don't remember what all I've got. So we're going to make a nice display for them. Do I think some of our measuring tools and stuff above that so I can see them. And we'll see how it goes. So we'll see you back. We're going to make this quick and dirty shop furniture. I picked up a sheet of 3/4 inch sanded plywood, and we're going to make the face frame out of that. We're going to put a 1/8 inch plywood back on it and those glass doors in the front. So we'll see you out in the driveway with the track saw. So now the first dilemma. Like I told you, those glass doors need a cabinet that's inside dimensions, 48 inches by 36 inches. The problem is I spent $65 on this sheet of plywood, so I want to utilize every bit of it that I can possibly use. That means I want to save some of this for another project. So I'm going to cut the top and bottom to 48 inches, the width of the plywood, and the sides to 36 plus 1.5 inches, so 37.5 plus 1/4 inch to play with, just in case. I'd rather have to shim the tracks than have it too small. So I'm going to cut 4 strips, 16 inches wide by 48 inches, and then trim the 2 for the sides down. And we'll just use some basic butt joints. Hey, we're going to paint this thing, so it really doesn't matter. So here I am setting everything up, and we'll be back when we get it cut. Here I am using my radial arm for one of the things I love to use a radial arm for, and that's cutting those sides down to the exact dimensions. You can see how easy it is. I don't understand how you guys do it with a table saw or even a chop saw. This just, for me, works so much better. Get both of them cut down to the exact dimensions, and then we're going to run over to the table saw. We're going to cut a 1/4 by 1/4 groove on the back side so our back panel will drop in and be flush with the back and give it a little bit more strength. And then we'll get into putting this thing together. Okay, we're back. We have the slots cut in the backs of the boards. Let me get our test fit plywood here. And you can see how those are going to fit. They'll give us a nice back. Now we got to glue this thing together, or attach it, make a box. Pretty easy, but we got an issue. Because I need exactly 48 inches width, and plywood, as you know, comes 48 inches wide, I can't do any type of a joint. I have some router bits that do a really nice locking joint for corners that I like to use on drawers, but with this one I can't do that. But it's a shop cabinet. We're going to paint it, so I think what I'm going to end up doing is drilling and putting a couple screws in here, glue it. So as you guys know, when you try to screw plywood, because of all the different layers of the plywood, it tends to split. So we got to drill, and here's the drill bit that I'm using. Just so you guys know, we're using a 2-inch deck screw, so that should give us pretty close. And we're just going to put a couple of them in here. Okay, so we're going to take it back apart, and we're going to put some glue on this. And we're going to glue it together. And there it is with screws. So we've glued it, we put a couple screws in it to hold it. Now we'll flip it around. We got 3 more corners to do. Okay, so here it is, all glued up, screwed together. I've checked the dimensions, and we're right exactly where we need to be. It's square, so now we're just going to let it sit overnight and let that glue dry. Now we've got the 4 sides glued up, and we're ready to put a back on it. I've got the back cut, and we're going to be putting it on with some glue and some crown staples. I don't know if you guys use these. A lot of people laugh at them, but I have found these things work great in places that you're not going to see. They work much better than the pin nails. They have a lot more holding power, and they're glue coated, so once they're in, the friction of driving them in heats the glue, and once it sets, those staples are there. And there's our cabinet glued up. Next step, let this glue dry for a little bit. Wipe off the excess, and then we're on to painting. I've got my core to $2 blue paint that I got from Home Depot. And we're going to paint this thing up. I see a few spots that need to be touched up, but we'll get that done. We'll let it dry overnight. So here's our cabinet all painted. I want to mark where the tracks go. There we go. Now, we're going to do router vent storage down here. I'm thinking 3 tiers, maybe 4. So we'll get those cut and we'll be back for test fit. Well, now it's time to clean the shelves. Done. So now we can put a cabinet up. I mounted a piece of 2" by 2" aluminum angle iron along the bottom for the cabinet to sit on, screwed it into the studs, and sat the cabinet on top and screwed through the 2x4 that's up at the top into those same studs to give me a really sturdy cabinet. The cabinet's mounted, the glass doors are installed, and you can see I decided to do 3 tiers. Did a 2x2 in the front, 2x4, and then a 2x6. And so now the task of putting all the router bits. I have both 1/4" shank and 1/2" shank, so the 1/4" shank ones are going to be in the front and the 1/2" shank ones in the back. Here it is completed. You can see I had to add another shelf there on the left for more router bits, and my corner templates and layout tools and this and that. I hung things on the sides, and I've got some magnetic strips, one there about in the middle and another one clear at the top. I scavenged those from a job, I don't know where, and the doors slide nice. Hopefully it'll keep the dust out. And then over on the right, I hung my tracks for my track saw, and on the side of the cabinet, I've got a 48" ruler and 2 48" levels, one regular and one digital. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. And if you didn't see the first episode, it'll pop up here on the screen.